So our next speaker is Emily Adamczyk. She is a PhD candidate in zoology at UBC and will be presenting her work on eelgrass communities in her talk, Seasons in the Salish Sea.
Yes, okay, so thank you again, Hannah, for the introduction. So today I will give a brief overview of one of my PhD chapters that focuses on the seasonality of eelgrass associated invertebrates. I would like to begin by acknowledging that I am currently living on the traditional and unceded territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, Stolo, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. As a settler in North America, all of my research has been conducted on First Nations land, including Tsawwassen, where this picture takes place. And this is the site of the research I will be sharing with you today. For some background context, eelgrass is a marine vascular plant that grows in protected bays and estuaries throughout the Northern Hemisphere. This particular eelgrass meadow is located at the Tsawwassen Ferry Terminal and extends into Point Roberts. It is just one of the many eelgrass meadows that can be found in the Salish Sea. My lab mate, John Christiani, recently published this map that shows where eelgrass meadows have been documented throughout this region. The green represents eelgrass and blue represents freshwater inputs. Note that the polygons are exaggerated a bit for visualization, but I just wanted to show you this map to highlight that eelgrass ecosystems are commonly found in this part of the world. This tiny red circle is where the Tsawwassen eelgrass meadow is located, right on the border of BC and Washington. And here's a close-up map of the eelgrass meadow. The green area is the estimated extent of the eelgrass as it extends into Point Roberts, but we don't have data for Washington, so it doesn't actually have that cutoff line there. But next time you take a trip to Tsawwassen or anywhere from the ferry terminal, see if you can spot some of the eelgrass. So eelgrass meadows, such as this one in Tsawwassen, provide ecosystem services that people rely on, including shoreline protection, carbon storage, water filtration, and acts as a nursery for juvenile fish that we like to eat, including salmon. From the surface, you can see that the canopy of the eelgrass is quite dense, creating a perfect habitat for juvenile fish. In fact, eelgrass is a foundation species that provides habitat for many different organisms. And this is a photo of a different eelgrass meadow that is occupied by a school of shiner perch, which are commonly found in eelgrass meadows during the summertime. These are just some of the animals that I've seen while diving in eelgrass meadows, and you can see that there's a high diversity of life. However, the presence of eelgrass-associated animals changes with each season, just as the presence of animals change with the seasons on land. Seasonal patterns on land can be mirrored by the patterns that we see in the ocean. For instance, birds migrate just as fish do, and terrestrial flowers bloom around the same time as eelgrass flowers. So the main research objective that I have for this project is to identify key seasonal events in eelgrass communities. And the purpose of this is to create a baseline understanding for when certain species are present in eelgrass meadows throughout the year. And with this information, we can better inform restoration and management objectives. So to identify key seasonal events, we made field observations in the Tsawwassen eelgrass meadow, focusing on different parts of the food web. And so here we have an eelgrass food web where eelgrass is at the base and followed by epiphytic algae that live on eelgrass leaves and invertebrates graze on the epiphytic algae, and those invertebrates are eaten by small juvenile fish, which in turn are consumed by salmon and flatfish like halibut, and then top predators like herons, eagles, and otters. And I would like to draw your attention to the first 4 parts of this web, which are the focus of my research: the eelgrass, the epiphytic algae, the invertebrates, and the fish. So here's just a brief overview of the data that we collected. So myself and a team of colleagues and friends did monthly surveys where we collected eelgrass biomass and density, invertebrate diversity and abundance, fish diversity and abundance, and also abiotic variables like temperature and salinity and nutrients. And we collected these data every month for 3 years. Here is another view of the meadow where you can see the ferry terminal in the background. And in this photo, you can see that the eelgrass is in shallow water, and that's because we would collect the samples at low tide. And we would use the pictured 25 by 25 centimeter quadrat to standardize our sampling area. In the summertime, it was easy to sample because low tides were during the day in the summer months. So we would easily be able to do our fish staining and collections of eelgrass. And in the winter time, the low tides shifted to being at night. So we would have to go out in the wee hours of the night and collect our eelgrass and fish then. And it was quite wonderful to go during these different times of day and different seasons because we were able to see the different types of fish and invertebrates. So I have not yet finished my taxonomy work for all of the invertebrate samples that I collected, but I just want to show you a visual representation for how species and abundance of the invertebrates change seasonally. So here we are, starting with winter. And I just want to note that these photos are from the samples of that 25 by 25 centimeter quadrat. So it's just a small area of that eelgrass and the associated invertebrates. So here is winter. And then we go into the spring. We can notice there are already some changes in terms of the abundance of invertebrates. And in the summer, especially in June and July, there's far less inverts than in the winter time. And then here we are in the fall, where the abundance picks up again. And I would like to ask the audience, do you have any ideas for why invertebrate abundance is so much lower in the spring and summer?
Predators.
Predators. It's an excellent guess, Andrew. So yes, we hypothesized that the decrease in the invertebrates in the spring is driven by the predation of fish, specifically the Shiner surf perch, who swim into the eelgrass in the summertime, and they give live birth, and they'll end up having lots of babies that eat those invertebrates. I would also like to share with you the seasonal trends of the eelgrass and epiphytes that we collected throughout this time. Here are 2 figures. On the left-hand panel is eelgrass, and on the right-hand panel is the epiphytic algae. The different years are represented by different colors, and month is on the x-axis and biomass is on the y-axis. And we can see from these 2 figures that the peak biomass, so when biomass is greatest, happens during the summer months. It's a little less clear for algae, but we're working to figure out why that's the case. And this is what you would expect, because during the summer, there's a lot more sunlight. So these organisms are able to photosynthesize and increase their biomass. And this is just an average representation. So you can see that on average over time, the peak biomass does indeed happen during the summer. All right, so going back to my main research objective, to identify the key seasonal events in these systems. So as preliminary results, we did find that seasonal events in eelgrass communities, such as Shiner perch migration, can influence the species interactions. And for the next steps, we are aiming to create a model for organizing hypotheses and observations for the key events in eelgrass communities throughout BC. And we also are aiming to compare key events to other eelgrass meadows worldwide in order to further understand how these ecosystems are similar or different and why. And with that, I would like to thank IMERSS for giving me this wonderful opportunity to present my work, and to all of you for being here. And I would also like to thank my funding sources and collaborators and my lab. Thank you.